So, good morning. I'm sitting here in my absolute favorite spot. I know the lighting's not great because the sun's coming up, but it's not, there's not going to be any pretty pictures, just me. Um, so, I want to talk about like some little bit of garden shame I guess I have this year. And that's goes to like, where's my vegetables? Where's my vegetable garden? And if you look around, and I'll insert some video in a couple seconds of what I'm growing this year for veggies, you'll notice one thing, and that's that there isn't any. And there's a reason for that, and it's the rabbits. So, so a little history about the rabbits here. So they didn't arrive in this garden until maybe 5, 6, 7 years into gardening. We just gardened completely oblivious to any sort of predator threat. We didn't have deer or rabbits or anything. But once they found us, they have never left. And some people will say things like, oh, they were there before you, it's their land. But that is completely untrue. Um, I guess hyper locally, where I'm sitting now, just in this acres that make up the development I live in, was glacially deposited sand for 11,000 years, and there wasn't even ants here. So there was no rabbits here, there was nothing. But the bigger issue is that this rabbit that is here in our garden is an introduced species from brought over in the 1900s for game, for shooting, and nobody shoots anymore. And they have just proliferated everywhere. There's so many. And our native New England cottontail is a little tiny cute bunny that lives in forests and more woodland kind of creature. And this thing, its habitat is everywhere. Fields, meadows, suburbia. It doesn't care. You see them hopping across the street, playgrounds. It doesn't matter. They're everywhere. And our neighbors don't have a lot of stuff growing on their property. Most of them are just sort of lawn and a few shrubs and whatever. And so they come here to eat. And so it's been a number of years now, and we have years that are better and years that are worse. But I'll tell you that this year, when we came out in the winter, after late winter, early spring, to start doing some cleanup and stuff, and realized that it had been a very good winter for the rabbits. And we had plants that were eaten down. Like I had some fire chief arborvitaes that were, good sized shrubs, and there were just little tiny nubs at the bottom. They were completely gone, and they weren't even regenerating at all. They were done. So we lost those, and walking around and seeing all the damage they did over the winter was really just disheartening. And so some years it happens like that, and then they sort of, the spring starts and everything starts coming up, and it's all good. But this year, that's not what happened, and we had to get ready for a big garden tour in June. So I just sort of put on my happy face and kept going. But I'll tell you, like, we had a 2 week period in May where we lost 13 whole entire clematis vines. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot for any gardener to bear. And let me tell you about my sort of disinterest and sort of depression about the whole gardening thing. Like, I just was ready to pave the whole place over. And then we had a real boom in, I call them teenage rabbits. I don't know anything about the life cycle of a rabbit, to be honest, but we get these rabbits that they look like every guy that I dated in high school. Like they're just lanky and long, and their arms seem to grow at a disproportional rate to their body, and they're always hungry. And rabbits are, um, the way they feed. There's a word for it, and I can never remember it. And uh, crepuscular, and it means that they come out at dawn and dusk. So these a lot of creatures are crepuscular, like deer and uh, anyway, these teenage rabbits that I like to call them teenage rabbits, they come out all day. They don't care about dawn or dusk or sun or whatever. They're just out all the time, and they're so hungry they eat literally anything. And with my own eyes, I watched one eat a whole plant of chives, which no onion plant has ever been on a rabbit's buffet list, but they ate the whole thing. I just sat there in total disbelief. And the other thing that the teenage rabbits do that the other rabbits don't do is bite stuff just for fun. So you can tell when something's being eaten by rabbits, it gets um, a very distinct like angular cut. It's very clean and it's chopped off at an angle. And you go out and see things like peony, which they don't eat. And in the spring, when our peony was coming into to bloom, you would come out and find all the flower stems just bitten off and laying on the ground. Like they didn't even want to eat them. They were just, you know, doing it just for fun. So they're like the bad kind of teenager that's just trying to see what kind of trouble they can get into. And so the garden has just been under such attack. And in the past, we've tried everything. Um, those of you who ever read my blog know that I have on there the Rabbit Chronicles, where I talk about when they were the worst here. And we tried every sort of urine product and spray and repellent. None of those work. And this year, actually, I bought this product that I haven't used for a long time, but I thought I'd give it a whirl again. And it's called Plant Skid, and it literally looks like blood, and it smells like somebody mixed blood with vomit, and it's thick and disgusting. And I was pouring it straight. I wasn't even diluting it with water. I was just pouring it on plants because I just didn't want to lose any more plants before our garden conservancy tour. And I would come out, and plants that had been soaked in this stuff would still be eaten to the ground. And what do you even do about that? So we replaced a lot of the protection we have around certain things like the clematis. We have hardware cloth, which is just like chicken wire but more dense wire. And they were getting over it, in it, under it. You would come out and find the cages that have always been in the ground. And if there's been a cage around something, they would just sort of go find something else. But they would nose the cage up. Or I think in one case, they had to have gone in because the cage was actually stapled in the ground. And they had to have gone up and over the chicken wire to get in and eat the clematis that was in there. And it's not just clematis, it's everything. Like they're just eating everything. And I mean, you get to the point where you just say, how much time, effort, and money are you going to sink into like this losing battle? And that's kind of how I felt in June when it was time to start all my vegetables. And I thought, it's with a perennial plant, you have a chance that if they bite it down, that the plant's going to come back. Kind of like they pruned it, like they'll chew off the side leaves. I don't think my dahlias are coming back. They chewed those all off down to just a stem, and I don't think that those are going to rejuvenate. But anyway, with most perennial plants, they will. But with an annual plant, it's just not going to happen. So you could have, bean stalks out there, and in our we don't have any raised beds. Everything grows in the ground if we grow veggies. And so you just know that if you put something in the ground and you're going to come out and they're just going to have bit off the beanstalk for fun, you're not getting that back. You're not. And I just didn't do it. I just decided I didn't want to do it. So I love, one of my favorite things that I love from the garden is cucumbers. Everything else, I mean, I like them and I'll grow them and whatever, but one of the things I love best from the garden is a cucumber, and I'll take whatever cucumbers come out of the garden and have them with my dinner literally every night. And so I planted some early fortune cucumber seeds in the container, and so I have single cucumber plant that's been providing me with, already I've had like 3 or 4 cucumbers off of it. And then I have my little thing of lettuce that is more decorative, but it's there so we can, pop off some lettuce for like a burger or whatever if we're cooking on the grill. And both of them are way out of reach of anybody, so they're raised up, and the rabbits can't get at them. But I don't know the solution. Like right now, I just feel so. I think just disheartened is the word, and I don't. You guys, if you think of or have heard of some sort of repellent that works, or the only thing I haven't heard of one time that I've never tried is like collecting human hair from like the barber, and I guess that's supposed to work for maybe deer and rabbits. But they don't seem afraid of anything. Nothing seems to stop them. They're just so darn hungry all the time. And actually, when they mature, when they get big, and we'll see big fat like mama rabbits and stuff, they will eat grass. But it's not like that's the only thing they eat. They'll eat grass and then they hop into the garden and they chow down a few other plants. Um, so it's just, like I said, really, really disheartening to see the garden like is under siege. And it sort of gave me a like this just feeling of existential dread about the whole thing. Like, I mean, I'm ready to call just a paving company, or have the whole thing turned back over to lawn, or I don't know. Um, I know that's just how I feel today. And then when I walk out and I see all the beautiful things that are growing that they haven't eaten, and when I see something flowering for the first time, um, I it it brings me a lot of joy. The garden really does bring me a lot of joy. But anyway, are y'all suffering with them as bad as I am? I don't know. It must have been the winter. It must have been the winter. But hopefully, we'll have I would like a really good solid winter with some really freezing temperatures. I would like, we used to have a den of foxes for a few years. I would like them to come back. I don't know how to invite them or find them, but I would like them to come back. Um, and really anything else that would help us take their population down, I think, uh, would be helpful. I don't know how to get those things here. Anyway, that's all for the Garden Confessional today. Uh, it's beautiful here today. I woke up, it was just barely 50 degrees. I think it was either 50 or 51. So nice and cool and dry. And I'm not sure what the weather's going to be like later today. And I only have a few things to do outside. So uh, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where the day takes me. But anyway, I hope you're happy wherever you're gardening, and we'll see you soon.